Hello, I'm going to show you how to make these little mini motifs that I've made for my rainbow heirloom scarf or wrap. Haven't decided yet because haven't quite worked out how big I'm going to do it. It's made using these fabulous mini skeins of Solo Light Minis from Rainbow Heirloom that I bought from Isolde Teague's website some time ago, and I've just been now and then making these little motifs. So I'm actually going to demonstrate how to make these little motifs in a slightly thicker yarn, because I did just try and make a video with this yarn and a 2.5mm hook, because the centre colour is really dark, and the hook and the yarn are quite fine. It's difficult to see properly on the video. So I'm actually going to demonstrate with some double knit cotton and a 3.25 hook, so that you can just see it a bit better. I'm going to start off with a slip knot loop on my hook, and then I'm going to chain 4 to make a ring, and then I'm going to join in the first chain with a slip stitch. Then I'm going to so the first round is actually consists of 8 extended single crochets in the ring. So start off with a chain 1 that doesn't actually count as anything. And then if you're unfamiliar with an extended single crochet, I'll just show you what to do. So go into the ring, pull up a loop, yarn over to make a chain through the first loop on your hook only, and then yarn over, draw off 2. That's 1 extended single crochet. So into the ring, pull up a loop, chain 1, yarn over, draw off 2. You're basically just inserting a chain in between in the middle of making the stitch. So I've done 2. I need to do another 6. So that's 1. Yarn's tangled. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I should have 8 in total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's right. So for these little motifs, I don't really like to finish off with a slip stitch join, because it leaves a bit of a lump when you start the second round. So for this, I do a sewn finish. So cut the yarn, pull the loop all the way through, get your needle, which has vanished, now here it is, thread it, pig's ear, this needle is a bit small for this. Because I've been using this needle for the fine yarn. Typical. Can't get it right. Okay, at last frayed it quite a bit. It doesn't matter. Okay, so when you you're probably aware that when you do one of these sewn finishes to a round, that you're actually just making a mock stitch to mimic one of these loops, V shapes that run around the top of your work. So when stitch count is important, you actually need to skip a stitch, otherwise you end up with 1 stitch too many, which will then mess up your subsequent round. So I just gone through that stitch. I'll do it again just in case you didn't see what I did. So I've gone through that stitch front to back, just as if I was inserting my crochet hook. I'm pulling it through, And then if you take a look at where it's coming out from this point here, I'm actually going to go back down that same spot. Don't worry too much about what it looks like to start with. You're just pulling it tight to make another mock stitch to match the rest, so try and get it roughly the same size. And then this is a bit that is mostly omitted from a lot of the tutorials I've seen about how to do this sewn cast off. How do you actually secure it, because that is completely unsecure. If you crochet into that, it's going to come undone. I tend to just actually sew this, catching some of the back strands of the work a couple of times, just like that. On a longer bit I might go, you know, if it was double crochet, a longer stitch, I might even do a few more. I've just done that twice there, and then I'm actually going to sew it into this congested part in the middle and go back on myself just to make sure, because that stitch is actually quite vulnerable unless you make sure you secure it properly. So I'm going to trim that off now, and then I'm also going to trim this because I'm not going to bother sewing this in, because I caught it in as I went round, and also it's a chain 4 join to form a ring. That's not really going anywhere unless you do something particularly violent with it. Trim that. So there's my little centerpiece. I'm going to now move on to round 2, which is basically just 2 double crochets, but working into the back ridge only of this extended single crochet you've just done. And I'm going to join the yarn just by holding a tail at the back, chain 3, counts as my first stitch, double crochet. Again, I tend to catch in my tails as I go. If that's not your way, don't worry about it. 2 double crochet through the back ridge only. Into each stitch. Yarn's caught. So at this point you should now have 16 double crochet. 2, 4, 6, 8, 12, 14, 16, and then join with a slip stitch in the chain 3 of the beginning. Chain 3. Next round is made up of single crochets with chain 3 picots and 6 double crochet clusters made with 6 double crochets with a chain 4 picot at the end. And the chain 4 loop at the end is actually the joining chain for when you're joining the motifs together. So chain 1, single crochet back in that exact same stitch you just joined into, the chain 3, chain 3, make a picot, and chain 4. So there's a chain 4 between each of the sections here, so 6 double crochet cluster. So actually I'll start that again just in case you've never made one of these before. So it's basically just 6 double crochets all in the same spot, but they're all partially made up to the penultimate point, and then in the last step you finish off all 6 double crochets in one go. So you start off like a normal double crochet. I'm skipping a stitch first. I'm going into the stitch, so I'm pulling up a loop, yarning over, going into the stitch, pulling up a loop, drawing off 2. So normally now if you're doing a double crochet you'd yarn over and draw off the last 2, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave the loops on the hook. I'm going to make another one, yarn over into the stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw off 2. Don't finish it off. I need 4 more like that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yarn over, pull through all of them, and you can see it makes a nice fat cluster. Chain 4. There's a nice knot there in that yarn. And now we're going to do another picot, but this time instead of going into the 2 V's of the chain, we're actually going to go into the back ridge of the first chain we made, which makes this quite a nice little hole at the very top of the cluster, so it's really easy to find. You go in there and you slip stitch. Now you're going to chain 4 rather, and another single crochet with a chain 3 picot in the top. So I've skipped a stitch, single crocheted in the next one, chain 3, picot into the single crochet, slip stitch into the single crochet, chain 4, make another 6 double crochet cluster, skip 1 stitch. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Seems extra fat with this double knit compared to the single ply, 4 ply. Chain 4, join with a slip stitch in the back of the first chain, chain 4, skip a stitch, single crochet, chain 3, picot, chain 4, skip a stitch, yarn's getting all tangled, 6 double crochet, cluster, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we're going to chain 4, join with a slip stitch into the back ridge of the first chain, chain 4 again, skip 1, single crochet, picot, chain 3, slip stitch in that double single crochet, oops, something, oh that's right, chain 4, make your last cluster, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then chain 4, slip stitch in the back ridge of the first chain, and then chain. So here I actually finish off with a chain 3 and then slip stitch. And I find if I do a chain 4 and then slip stitch, it kind of almost adds an extra chain, and this last one ends up being a bit longer than the rest of them. So I do a chain 3 and then slip stitch into the top of this single crochet that I made in the first round, cut the yarn, oops, and fasten off. So there is my little motif. This is quite a difference in the 3.25mm hook with a double knit, and these are made with 2.5 crochet hook and the sock weight or fingering yarn from Rainbow Heirloom. So hopefully you know, this now gives you a bit of an idea of how I made these. The written pattern will be on my website, and then hopefully I'll also do a little video showing you how to join them as you go, which is pretty easy, to be fair.